We've got Extension in with us this morning. The move is still happening.
It is.
Listen to the enthusiasm.
We are on the final home stretch. I think at this point we have moved all of our critical items over to make sure that we have business going and that we keep the doors open. But we are now to the point of when you move out of a building that you've been in for 30 years into a new space that has a smaller footprint, there's a lot of processing that needs to be done as far as what can we take, what do we not need anymore, what's recycled. So we're to that stage now of we moved all the things we need. Now it's just identifying like so much cardboard, so much just random cardboard that we're finding where I'm like, I don't know. But we're finding a lot of historical things too that just have been stashed.
You've had great record keepers over the years.
Yeah, I mean, so we're finding like we had a couple of books that, you know, I've talked on here multiple times before about how the extension office and extension offices across the state are just repositories. People seem to think that they're historical things that maybe the historical society doesn't work. They bring them to the extension offices. So we have some old books that we found. They're from 4-H, and I just happened to flip through it yesterday because it was like 1930 to 1990 4-H or something. It was like some sort of just yearbook through the years kind of thing. And there was some old project manuals that were in that book, and they were from 1930, 1933, and 1936 maybe. So, but it was from the same lady it was a sewing and a foods book, and there was another one that was for livestock, wasn't it, I think?
Yes, and then it was just junior leaders.
Yeah, so it was interesting to read through it because it listed the prices of everything, and like, because he bought a steer for like...
It was like, the starting value was like $175, and like the end value, so like he priced out like each of his projects because, yeah, like one was dairy, and then I think it might have been like sheep or swine, like was bought for, I think, like $75, like...
Way different world.
Yeah, completely different world, and like the total ended up being like a few $100s that like his project was worth after what he put into it. So it was really neat to kind of read through that.
Yeah, because the sewing one walked through a little bit of that too, because it had each item that went into, I don't remember what the project was that she sewed, but it was, you know, like 2 cents for this and 3 cents for that, and there was some sort of cord that went in it, and that was the big dollar amount where it was like 20 cents.
Oh my. Yeah.
So it's just, you know, interesting to look through those, look and see how they were made then and how it's done now with the program book and the record keeping and stuff. So, you know, it's one of those that I don't know what we're going to do with it. I hate to get rid of it. Those manuals specifically, because they are so, I mean, they're almost 100 years at this point, and they're in like immaculate condition. Mm-hmm. So we're just, we're kind of at that point. So we're
figuring it out, right?
Yep. But we've been in the office for a month now, a little over a month and a half, somewhere in that range, and settling in. We're getting, you know, we've got our everything over there as far as furniture for the most part. So we're hitting a stride now. So now it's going to be turning that office space into a functioning office with programming and just different attributes that we can use it for. So I know that I hosted a blood drive over the weekend, so that was fun. It was funny. A couple of the workers that came down, it's a group it's Versidius who does it. We had them in one time with us and chatted about what the blood drive was. But the team that came down were from Indianapolis, and they had the cattle battle this weekend at the same time, which was a huge success. And they were all enthralled because right outside the door was some cattle chute set up, and they're getting ready, and we've never been this close to a cow. Oh my gosh, it's so much bigger. And it was just so alien to me, where I was like, oh yeah, I guess. Like,
you gave them some good experience.
Yeah. So, but yep, we're using the space. It's there. It's just, it's taken a lot. It's taken a lot to get moved, but we're there. So
there you go. Now, as you are in the middle of all that, you're also in the middle of planning for the summer.
Yes.
We are.
Yep, say fair is going to be here in no time. Project books are in the process of being distributed right now, so we changed that process up a little bit. So in the past, we'd have families call, and then we'd go back and package their books, and then they'd come in and pick them up. So they're being distributed by clubs this year.
Okay.
So we packaged them all up by clubs. Club leaders have been coming in to pick up their books to distribute at their next meetings. So that's, for the most part, has been going pretty well. So our books used to be stored basically right behind Lana and Bonita, and now they are stored upstairs. So to make any of us in the office go up and down those stairs multiple times a day is just not a feasible task at all. So we kind of had to change that process up. So that's just part of those growing pains, I guess you could say, of being in that new space and changing a lot of those processes. But so far that's gone smooth. So now really just kind of looking forward to our next tagging days for animals. So sheep and goat will be coming up at the end of April, and then we'll have rabbit and poultry at the beginning of May, and getting close to that May 15th deadline for our livestock, because that's the only deadline that exists now with 4-H. So it's a lot of just, we're moving, trying to figure out how we're going to set things up for static projects in the new building, and just really just trying to figure it all out.
A lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. So, and that's one thing that we have tried to communicate with our families is, just giving us grace, giving us patience. And I ask that just for the staff in general, because it's great that we got a new office. It's on nobody's shoulders that happened. It was something the county approached us with, and we're grateful for it. But whenever you change something, there are people that sometimes are a little more resistant to change and want to know why, and that's perfectly fine. But so we've had a couple of those conversations where it's just, hey, come in, look at the office. It gives an opportunity to invite people in and look at it. And then after they see it, then it's kind of okay, this makes a lot more sense why we're doing it this way. It was just, but for 30 years, we've been very similar each year, where on this date, we start pulling manuals. You can come to the office, pick them up, you let us know, and this will be the first year that's been not the trend. So it's going to be figuring a lot of those things out. Just like at the fair, one of the things that we want to be very open about is that all of the projects are going to be, all the 4-H projects, static-wise, are going to be in the new building.
Yes.
And we have no idea what that looks like. So there's going to be a lot of growing pains there, too, and figuring things out. So we may fill the building up. We may only fill half the building up. We have no idea. The space is very large.
It is.
So that's one of those that if there is extra space left over, I'm sure there'll be some people that will question that, but it's an opportunity for us to see, okay, how much of the space do we need, and how much can we maybe work with the fair committee to bring vendors in or utilize that space in a different way. So that's...
And it's really hard to judge. That space is big. Like when you're in there and it's empty, like it's big, but then when you start putting projects in, where they've been scattered in years previous, it's hard to tell,
and it's really hard to tell because, not until the middle of June do we even have a rough idea of how many projects are even going to show up, because until kids start putting things into fair entry, we have no idea. So, right now I can tell you there's like 300 kids in 4-H, but I can't tell you how many projects that is going to be at the fair yet, because they might be in 15 different static projects. So really just, having people be patient and just growing. And I know I've had the conversations too, like Christopher said, of like, come see the space, like let's talk through it. Like we know that there's a chance that it could be a complete failure this year and we'll have to change it for next year, but that's just that
it's
growing.
A year. And everybody has to understand that.
Yeah.
And one of the big hurdles that our council is undertaking at the current moment is we came out of two buildings that one was built in 47 and the other one was built in the 50s or 60s, I think. And we just kind of made them our own during the fair. And if we wanted to put a piece of wood up on the wall to hang a picture on or whatever, like we just did it. We don't have that same luxury now because we have a brand new building. So there's a lot of logistical figuring out of, because we can't, it's not that we can't hang things on the wall, we can't drill or nail anything into the wall. So if we could figure out a way to not mar the wall up with like magnets or whatever, because we have a lot of projects that get hung. We have a lot of artwork. We got some new aluminum A-frames that put some pictures and posters on. We received a grant through RMC, and then you helped, worked with KFAB, and they helped do those. But that's the big thing right now, is figuring out how are we going to display everything, because that's totally different. So we don't know what that's going to look like. And if we need to hang something, how do we do that? How do we effectively do that so we're showing it off without damaging anything? So
I feel like it's going to be a big problem-solving year.
Yeah.
It has. And I will say council's been, great. The people that are kind of within council, we have our own subcommittees. So we have a static project subcommittee, and the people that are on that, they have been really working and brainstorming and coming up and have already been reaching out to other people in the county to borrow or use different things. And they've really put their thinking caps on. So I definitely commend them for, they've been thinking outside of the box, which is a big need this year.
It is, yeah. So we're full steam ahead, and it's going to happen.
It's going to be good, and we'll see. The the one thing I think that we're most excited about in the office, outside of the new office, is being able to have judging all one day at one time. So everything's gonna come in, be judged, and be done, instead of having it split out between two. And I think that's gonna make everything much smoother for not only us but for our families as well, because you don't have to plan to come twice if that's the case. So that's gonna be good. So
it's streamlining a lot of things, really. When you stop and look at it, it's going to be very streamlined. It's just this year it's figuring that piece out.
Yes.
So, and I think you guys will possibly be using some of the space.
Yes, that's what we're told. We will be in there for our evening
shows. So I know, because we'll have we plan on using the stage. There is a mobile stage in that space that we'll use for the fashion review and for our public speaking and do the first night of the fair kind of thing. So. Then at a fair committee meeting, it was discussed that, sorry, I just got a text from my wife, that, chaos at home, that we will be able to use that, and you guys will be in there, so we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are too. We're excited.
And it'll be nice to, because I know that we've gotten questions from people about, well, what are we going to use the old headquarters building for? Because you used to be in there. What's that going to be used for now? And, I don't want to spoiler alert anything that the fair committee's not ready to push out, but the plan at this current moment is that they're looking to work with some local organizations to have some tables made, some picnic tables, and use that as a common space, because one of the things that they have seen over the years is that there's not a common area. If you just want to come and buy some food and hang out and sit, there's not that opportunity, really.
It's very hard to find a spot to do that.
So they're wanting to look at that building hard to make that a common space where, they could display certain things in, possibly, but have it be that area where there's, they're looking at installing some fans, possibly, make it
shaded so it gets you out of the heat. And
so, which I think is a great idea, because that's one thing I know I get asked a lot about. I know that others in Extension do at the fair is, if you buy food at a certain vendor, if they don't have tables, where are you supposed to sit? Because that's not. So I think that will be a huge benefit. And I know that they used to do the big tent, and that was everybody would come and sit and talk, and so hopefully this kind of takes over that as that space. So that space will still be utilized. It's just going to be in a different format. So looking forward to seeing how that's done. I know they have some contacts that they are working with, maybe, to build some of those.
I was going to say North Decatur High School was on just a little bit ago, and the principal was talking about, I think they're going to be building some picnic tables
are they?
for them.
Awesome.
So,
cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that I forwarded a couple things on, because I saw some Facebook posting from the schools that were, they kind of were like, hey, we're looking for projects. So we try to work with the schools, because I know the ones that are on the fairgrounds now were built through, I forget which one of the schools, but they were built through one of the school programs that they have for the trade. So boy, it's getting there. We have a fair committee meeting tonight, actually, so we are in the thick of those meetings as well, getting everything kind of figured out and planned.
It's amazing how quickly the summer goes, too. It's going to be here before you
know. I mean, it's only, 3 months?
Yeah. Oh, that's scary-ish, yeah.
That's
a little scary-ish, but we'll be there.
It was we have 3 council meetings left, and
it's go time.
That's it.
And enrollment's still open. Again, you can enroll until the day the fair starts.
Absolutely. So the only deadline is May 15th for livestock if you are actually showing the animal. All information has to be in 4-H Online by May 15th for that. But otherwise, there's not a deadline, so I guess it makes it really easy. I would highly recommend getting in sooner than later, just because it allows you more time to prepare and get all of your goodies that are needed for fair. But yeah, you can enroll the day of if you want.
That gives me a little panic.
Yes, it kind of takes my breath away as I say it, because it just really builds the anxiety, because I am such a planner. But yeah, if you
work well under pressure, now's your time to shine.
Go for it, absolutely. Right. But yeah, so all of that is kind of rolling. Like I said, a lot of the livestock stuff is kind of coming up with different tagging days, QLC dates. I know Christopher has the next one here in April, Wednesday evening, and then we'll have another one in May, which will be on a Saturday again. It'll be at 11, so it's actually the same day as our rabbit and poultry tagging, so maybe try and catch some of those kiddos as well. But it's really just kind of nitpicking all the little things that the kids need now to get in, and before too long we'll be opening fair entry. That opens June 1st and runs through June 15th, so everybody has to do that, not just certain groups, so everyone has to fill that out, and then we kind of have an idea of what's coming. What's coming, yeah.
Now, open class, though, will stay at the Farm and Home building?
As of right now, that is correct. It will stay in the Farm and Home building. I know Bonita is actively working on continuing to refine that process as well. So she's already improved some stuff from last year, and I know that that's been a huge benefit to all the volunteers around that. So that's unless something were to change, it will be located still in the Farm and Home building. So I know the open class books are available in the office still. She's delivered some to local organizations that she typically takes them to. So if that's something that you would like, we have them in the office. Swing by. We can hook you up with some. So pick them up sooner than later. Before you ask, no, I have not started on my crochet project yet, but soon. See,
I wasn't even gonna ask. I just figured you had it done.
And
perfected.
I really need to get on.
I mean, I did whip out a sweet chain the other day.
Did you?
But I don't know how you go back yet. I haven't made it that far. I'm just trying to master.
That's where I always got stuck, was going back, so I just quit.
Master the chain. I even asked Granny, Aaron's grandma, and I was like, I kind of I've been watching some YouTube videos, trying. I don't know how to go back. She's like, you just go back, you just pull and go back, and
yeah, that's not working.
I don't how do you you would go backwards?
Yeah, and that's what she literally was just holding her hands up, doing her little thing. She's like, yeah, you just go, and I was like,
yeah.
I'm not following right now, but let me take the 15 blankets that you just made for me and my family and appreciate them.
So this could be a trying project, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, but that's what's going to make it fun, though, because everybody has, different, because I know there's some people in the office that already know how to crochet or have crocheted before, and I think everybody has at some level. You just said you did a chain, so you now are part of that.
I know, and yes.
But, so it'll be, that's what's the fun of it, because, the whole idea behind it, for those that maybe don't know, we've talked about it on here before, is that we do all of these projects and we're kind of the overseers of them, but we don't actively ever participate just because so last year was one of the things we talked in an office conference of, we want to be engaged. We want to have fun with the fair too. It's a lot of work. How can we bring some, competitiveness to it? So that's where last year and this year we chose 6 random projects from open class, put them in a hat, and whatever we pull out, that's what the extension office will participate in, and it'll just be kind of a crowd voted event. It's not going to be actually judged in that regard, but it brings some friendly competition into the office, and it puts us out there as well, so others can see that we're participating and trying as well, because that's what it's about. It's about learning.
It's a new skill you're learning.
Yeah,
that's what this is all about, right?
I may pick this up and immediately be like, I just crocheted a dinosaur, and I have faith. Probably not.
I can't wait to see the dinosaur.
It's going to be the world's
longest chain. It's just going to be one chain.
It is going to be Prada is going to call because they're going to want my scarf that's just one row of.
It's literally, it's going to be a whole. It's going to be one skein of yarn made into a chain.
Wrap,
yeah,
right?
I mean, you could.
It's the new style. You don't want a thick scarf. You want to wrap it so you can style it.
You can really, really layer.
Maybe somehow tie it. It could be like a necklace. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out right now.
There are some great ideas going on.
Maybe wrap it up as a little headband and have an eye.
I'm looking forward to that part of it. I cannot wait to see what you do come up with.
I'm gonna have to get on it though, because I'm too competitive to not. So
to lose out on this, it's not happening.
Yeah, I don't want to be shown up. So unless I get really frustrated, then it'll just be like the world's longest chain. Yeah. So,
Now, you do have a program coming up. It's the suicide prevention?
Yep, suicide prevention. It's on April... Boy, let me look here. So we're working with the Purdue, Fort Wayne. They're the ones that are coming down. So it's the QPR. It's question, persuade, and refer. So the idea behind the program itself is... it's going to be April 20th is when it is. So that's at the office. It's a max of 35 people. It's 2.5 hours long. Lunch will be provided. We have put stuff out through social media. There are some flyers around. You have to pre-register for it just so then we can have a head count for lunch, obviously. So that is something that Purdue reached out to me and said, hey, your county qualifies for this grant, basically, and we would like to do this program. And I said, absolutely, let's do it. So the last time I checked, we had, I think, 15 or 16 enrolled already,
nice.
or registered. So So that's something that the program is already offered locally. Some may have seen it. It's One Community, One Family already offers it, but with us being through a different grant. So Jody with One Community, One Family is actually going to come that day and just be on site. So then if we have more that want referred to the program, we'll host more in the future. So we're looking forward to that. So if that's something that interests you.
And it's open to anyone, right?
It's open to anybody, yep. So it's something that if you have an interest, maybe or whatever your career is, you run into individuals that basically the idea is you're chatting with somebody that could be in crisis that you're thinking, how do I identify? Are they somebody that I need to refer? So this training helps you question what's going on. You're persuading them to go get help. You're not the one that's physically going to maybe get them that help, but you're going to help refer them to the help. So you're not the professional in that regard. And then the referring piece. So it's something that, I've sent it to some of our local businesses, send it to city PD, some of our probation, just so then they any knowledge is power. So hoping to get some of those. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out. I can get you the registration info and get you signed up. Like I said, there's a 35-person cap on it. I think Greensburg Daily News also, I sent them a thing, or the Daily News, and they are going to run an article too if they haven't already on it, just so then, because mental health right now, there's a huge gap in all communities. So how to get the appropriate referrals for those that need it, this is kind of that first line of defense. So we're looking forward to that program. I know that Purdue and Purdue Fort Wayne's looking forward to coming down, checking out the space. It's in the new building.
Yeah.
So I know within the training it's 2.5 hours. 2 hours of it is the training, 30-minute lunch. And with it, there is some kind of role play pieces to it of scenarios and how you handle it, because it's when you get into those scenarios, it's something that, being very present and how to actively walk through it can be very intense. So this is going to help kind of break down some of those barriers or gaps and get you the assistance you need to help somebody. So
very good. It should be a great program.
Yeah. I've been through the program myself before a couple times, actually. Anytime it kind of comes up, I try to go just because practice makes perfect. So just continuing to keep those skills sharp. So I will be there obviously for this one as well. So it's going to be a good program. I'm looking forward to it. So I do have some SurfSafes coming up as well. Those dates I have not made public. I'm waiting to get. So anytime we schedule programs through the university, we have to wait for them to publish certain websites and different things. So until we get those, we typically wait, just so then if there's issues. So if you're somebody that needs SurfSafe, reach out. I know that I work closely with the health department, and they help whenever somebody questions it. So that is something that I will be getting those out. I've been a little bit slower on my programming recently, just because I knew with the move, I didn't want to overdo it.
You had some other things to take care of.
Wanted to get moved, so now I'm starting to hit the ground running with getting those kind of typical programs that people see back on the docket for what's going on. So I know one of the things, too, I wanted to chat about is and I know I've talked about it before, but if there's anybody out there that ever has food preservation questions, give the office a call. There's 12 trained individuals in the state. I'm one of them for food preservation. So I've been getting a lot of calls recently about just food safety, sanitation, and preservation stuff. So, reach out. That's something that if I don't know the answer to it, I have a large group of peers that I can reach out to, or campus. So that's something that, one of the questions I got recently was a community member reached out. They had been given a ham, actually, and they wanted to know what the shelf life was for the ham, and then if they cooked it, was it okay? And so as we walked through everything, what it was is the individual had gotten a ham that had been frozen already for 3 months. They had it in their freezer for an additional 6 months. Then they made it and didn't know if it would be safe to eat.
Oh, okay.
So the longer that I was asking, so one of the things that we're kind of trained to do is to ask a lot of very specific questions about, okay, why wouldn't it be safe to eat? What is it that concerns you? How was it handled? So what they were concerned about is the shelf life of things in the freezer, which is a big thing, because even though it's frozen, that doesn't mean that it's forever good. So for certain things and how they're prepared, a year should be max that things are frozen. When we're dealing with things that are like meat or a protein, typically we look more in that 6-month range. Unless it's vacuum sealed, then that can extend it. So if you're looking at something that's like a meat and it's wrapped in butcher paper, 6 months really is where we kind of want to have that stuff used up, just because it will start getting freezer burnt. It will dry out. So stuff will still dry out and evaporate in the in the refrigerator. That's why we see a lot of freezer burnt stuff, because the moisture in it is actually drying out and evaporating into the freezer, and then it's leaving it and it's burning it basically. So that's
now if you have vacuum seal from like the Walker
Correct.
and have beef, then you're good to go past the
So we would still, so I would say that you're still good there, 9 to 12 months, maybe a little bit further. But that's one of those, being a wise consumer is something I tell everybody to do. I am explaining what is food safe. You as the consumer can still choose to go against that, but that's on you as making that decision. So as we discussed further with this particular individual, it was I felt comfortable 9 months that it was fine because it was a vacuum sealed ham. The concern I did have is we don't know how the ham was handled before she got it. So, with any frozen goods, if there are ice crystals formed on something, that means that it has been thawed or it's been brought up above freezing and then refrozen. At that point, we say we have no idea. So to get rid of it, again, being a wise consumer, you can do what you want. But that just means that, so if you imagine things that like large box stores that are grocery stores, when you get stuff out of their walk-up freezers, a lot of stuff has crystals on it, and it's because with the opening and shutting and the condensation that's building up and them slightly coming above temperature, those crystals freeze, then causing those crystals to form. So that's one of the things we talk about in ServSafe actually, is watching for crystals, because when shipments come in, you should be receiving them without any ice crystals, because that means that something went off. So anyway, long story short, this individual went through, cooked the ham, said it looked great, said it looked really fine, and I asked her, well, what temperature did you cook your ham to? Well, I don't have a thermometer. That was my next question. How do I know that it's done? I said, well, you don't know how it's done until it's, and a ham typically is cured, so you're just cooking it to temperature, but unless you can tell what temperature you brought it to. So at that point, unfortunately, I would say that this is something that you probably feed to your dogs or dispose of, because we don't know if you brought it to temperature, which for pork is 145. So, but those are kind of the things that we answer whenever you have those questions. Again, with like even canning and stuff, I had somebody call, they were canning some sort of bean, I think, and they failed to seal, and they weren't going to be able to reprocess them until the next day because you have within 24 hours. So what do you do? So the advisement there was you can put it in a stew pot, basically, put it in your refrigerator, and you just have to reprocess them totally within 24 hours. So as you have those questions, reach out. Purdue's going through some transitions with things, so we're being kind of guided to be really specialists in certain areas, and that's one of those areas that is now falling really heavily on me. So I'm getting questions from all over the region of the state, not just in Decatur County, but
well, I feel like those practices are coming back. We're starting to see that really reemerge.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those that as of right now, as you're planning to plant your garden, I always advocate with individuals, plan and start purchasing your food preservation items now as well, because once harvest time comes around, the big complaint a lot that I will get questions on, where can I buy jars, where can I buy flats, where can I buy rings, because it's coming back so heavily that stores run out of stock of it because they don't know year to year how heavily that stuff will be purchased. So buy your stuff now in anticipation for whenever you are going to do that. So with that being said too, it's summer, going to be summer and spring soon. There's a lot of auctions, there's a lot of garage sales. A lot of jars are found at auctions and garage sales. However, we typically advise against using them unless you know the person really, really well and you know exactly how those jars were used, or they're brand new. Outside of that, you have no idea how the jars were used, how old they are, if there's micro fractures, anything to that extent. So even though it may seem like just an absolute smoking deal, jars really aren't that expensive. Just buy new, save yourself the hassle, and go on. So I know through Purdue, we usually recommend, we can safely recommend Ball, Kerr, and Harvest Gold as 3 of the manufacturers that we know are tested and are safe to use. Anything outside of that, we're not saying that it's not safe. We just don't have data to back that this is something we would, to support. So that's one of those that, that's kind of, I've been doing a lot of those discussions lately and a lot of preservation things. So as you have those questions, feel free to give me a call. I hope to do some more preservation classes in the community. I've been working with the library on doing those, so I know that the library, we're going to host a couple more of those closer to August time. We do a lot of those classes closer to harvest just because then it's fresh in people's minds and they can apply what we're doing. So looking forward to doing some more of those. So it's It is a science. That
it is a science. I know. A friend of mine, she's like, "You got to get into canning," and I'm like, "I don't think I'm qualified to do that."
You are absolutely qualified. The biggest thing that we still get questions on, people will hot water bath, or boil water bath, perfectly fine. They're comfortable. It's when it comes to pressure canning, people get really uncomfortable because they've heard all of the horror stories of grandma or great aunt or whoever where something's exploded, which decades ago, absolutely, we've heard of those stories. Current time, unless you're using a really old canner that somebody's tinkered with, again, that's a invest in new, so you know what it is. Canners are built with so many fail-safes now, and not to say that anything could always happen, but like new canners have a rubber bung in them that has a tensile strength that it is built so that if the canner gets to a certain pressure, it will pop that bung out and it will depressurize instantly, so then we don't have that. If you somehow tinker with it and you prevent that from happening, obviously then we have an issue. But so there are so many things, but it is uncomforting if you've not canned to hear it whistling on the stovetop and you know it's at, whatever pressure, and you just think, okay, yeah,
it's gonna blow.
Yeah, this is it. So we battle that a lot in our classes and discuss, and if we have the ability to do hands-on stuff, people get way more comfortable with seeing how it's done, because that's one of those hobbies that it's a lot of paralysis by analysis of, well, I don't know if I can do it, or I don't know what I'm doing, or anything to that extent.
Once you see it, you have a better idea than what to expect, and you're not just on a wing and hoping.
Yeah, so it's so looking forward to doing more of those classes, because those are always fun. You get a lot of fun stories. You get a lot of the, how's my family not dead? I have been doing it wrong this whole time, or so. Because we only use evidence-based recipes, because with canning, it's not like cooking. You can't just make up your own recipe. It has to be very specific. It has to be tested, because that's all based on the shelf life and what we know is food safe. So it's a good time. I even had somebody come in not long ago, and they came in for something totally unrelated. I think it was 4-H. They happened to get a call while they're standing in the office, and it was her daughter calling about something with canning, and she was explaining, no, you do this, and I saw the opportunity, because what she was explaining was not accurate. So I said, no, stop.
It's a teaching opportunity, right?
No, you need to vent it for this many minutes, do this, do that, and I was like, because what you're explaining is not correct. And she was like, did you hear all that? Yeah, okay. So then she hung her phone up. She's like, oh my gosh, is that really how it's supposed to be done? I said, yeah. I've never done it that way. And then so she's like, that totally makes sense, and sometimes it takes longer to do or whatever. And I was like, yeah, it's probably because of that. So there's
You're
always
just a wealth of information.
I don't know that it's that. I just know.
You have specialties.
I know some things about very few things, and I just talk about those things a lot.
Listen, I made bread.
Oh wait, did you get a new bread maker?
I got a new bread maker.
Yes, we talked about this last time.
So I actually did it, because I had not done it yet. Because I had a patient bring me the wheat,
right,
and the wheat gluten, and so that was just the wheat gluten, water, honey, and yeast, and a little bit of salt.
Yeah.
And so I was a little like, I don't know. So I put it all in there, and I did, and you had to make a well to put your yeast, the whole thing. It turned out. It was delicious.
What'd you say?
It was really
much
good.
Better.
It's much better. Yeah.
So different. And the one thing I've noticed when you make your own bread and you make toast, the toast itself is like out of the sight.
It's got a crispier.
Yeah. It's crisp and soft at the same time, instead of just being like totally dried out.
Yeah. Yeah. I was. I will say I was impressed with myself that it turned out.
Yeah.
I've not made another loaf yet.
Bread making has come back again. It's another one of those that, and I think some of that comes down to we see a lot more food sensitivities now too. So when you make your own, you can really control what goes into it. And there's a lot of, in your practice, gluten sensitivity is a huge thing now.
It is.
So being able to, and people love bread. They love all the things that are gluten. So making your own and being able to control, so then it's something that's eaten. That's why some people that have gluten intolerances are able to eat true sourdough items, because of the fermentation that goes through, and it's a whole process. But so homemade bread's just way better.
Here we are in this world doing all kinds of things.
I know. Just think, that's
making homemade bread and crocheting.
That's right.
Whenever you look at bread making back in the day, bakers were one of the primary careers and most important people in your community, because that was a main source of food.
Sure, yeah.
So they would make brewer's bread a lot of times because the yeast they would get from the local brewer. It would be a beer yeast basically, and it was a wet yeast because you can do dry or wet depending on how you make your breads, and that's how they would make a lot of it back in the day. And it was very much a status thing because they would kind of have very impoverished bread that was a cheaper bread, but it would go up depending on what kind of like wheats and stuff they would use. So yeah, if you were a baker back in the day, it was very important that you knew your job, because if you messed up that day's bread, you basically would be ran out of town, but you fed communities with it. So
no pressure in the bread making business.
It's craziness. So that's what, that's if you ever see the large dough bowls or bread bowls, I see those all the time. That's what those were used for, is they would knead their bread in those and rise and all the things.
The things. I think too, isn't bread the open class entry this year? Is it bread?
Yes.
I feel like that sounds right.
I believe so.
I think so. I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
If it is, I might be entering. Let me tell you.
Bring it.
You might want to switch to bread, guys, from crocheting.
I tried. So we hosted a sourdough class in February with the Bread of Life.
Okay.
And that's just one of those things that I'm in my experimenting phase where it's something that I've always been interested in, not something that I'm going to maybe always do. And it's an interesting science because it's a lot of you ferment, you're feeding it, and it's not for me from the standpoint of continually doing it because you have to babysit your...
I was going to say I tried to, and it was a commitment that I just could not fulfill.
It is, and that's kind of how I felt because you just get busy, and the bread is really good.
Yeah, delicious.
But it was one of those that unless you're doing it and selling it, that was one of those where I couldn't continually feeding my starter because it makes the best bread, though. I mean,
it makes very good bread. It's a huge commitment to be a sourdough person.
Yeah, it's next level. But the people that do it and love it, I still support you, and I'm always on the market for it. And I'm glad I did it because it's something now I have a better appreciation for. What is it? How is it done? Because basically, for anybody that doesn't know, you have a starter that's just yeast and it's water and flour that has some form of a yeast in it. And then the yeast turns the flour and it eats that, turns the sugars, and it ferments basically. And then the yeast replicates. You put that down into your bread mixture at that point. So you use some of your starter and you save some back. And that's why we have 100, 200, 500-year-old starters, because you continually split it basically. Yeah. And then you mix it in. It's basically salt, flour, and water with your starter. That's all it is. There's nothing else. Unless you're adding in other things later on, like your I forget what they call them in the sourdough world, but if you're adding like chocolate chips and something to it, and that's it. So that's why it's a little easier on people that have some sensitivities. But the yeast actually will ferment the bread, and it makes things less available in it. So that's where the gluten gets broken down, and there's a whole science behind it without going into the details. But
just trust us, it's good.
Yeah.
It's just a commitment.
And that's where the sour comes in, though, is because it's the yeast is creating that flavor because you're fermenting. Fermentation is controlled spoilage, basically, at some level. So, which is a really weird way to look at it, but
it is what it is.
Yeah. So
that's right. See how much people have learned today?
I hope so.
Wealth of knowledge.
Or I could just hear radios flipping off, and they're like,
it's Christopher.
He's on.
He's on again.
So do you put out a garden? Are you putting out a garden?
So we are. That's one thing we're looking at doing this year, and that's actually something that Sabrina. So I know she's talked on here before. She's splitting between us and Dearborn County now.
Yeah.
She actually was here yesterday and was with the community garden. So they're expanding it. They put tarps down. Yes. They're looking at getting that up and going. We personally, my wife and I, are looking at doing a garden this year. I put garlic out already. So garlic is one that it has to be put out in the wintertime because it's called vernalization is the technical word, but it has to go through the winter where it has to be chilled. Then it has to be warmed back up basically with the ground temperature, and then it sprouts. So garlic's not something that you can just plant here in the spring and let it go unless it's elephant garlic, which is not technically a garlic, it's a leek. So you can plant it in your spring and grow, and it's just very similar to garlic anyway. So, but you plant that, in your fall, late fall, like October, November time frame, cover it with some sort of mulch or straw is what I used. And then, so the downside to garlic this year, for me anyway, That's the first time doing it, I guess, but I planted around 200 cloves just because.
That's a lot, right?
It is, but when you order garlic, if you usually get like 3 bulbs, and each bulb has 12 to 15 cloves. So, and it was like a set, like an onion set basically. So instead of just throwing them away, I was like, well, I actually built something to plant them because they have to be spaced out. So I was like, and it was a very small footprint. So I planted it, and I was like, we'll see what happens. And with the warm days that we had in February, some of my garlic is already like 1.5 feet tall.
Look at you go.
The downside to it now is that with all of the weird cold freezing, it's covering it, uncovering it, making it like, so it's
turned into a job.
Yeah, so it will be worth it, but it's been one of those interesting things to see how it goes. And so so my garlic is on. Hopefully we'll see. I have 4 different varieties that I planted, and we'll kind of see what happens with all that.
You'll be the garlic dealer this year.
This year, just wait, we're going to walk in, he's going to have a bag of garlic for you.
I'll have to bring some in at some point. We'll have to do a taste test, because like some of them, when you read the descriptions, it's like, oh, very mild and nutty, and then I'm like, garlic is, I mean, am I going to be able to tell a difference? And I don't know.
We'll find out, won't we?
The one was
he's going to be warding off vampires, though.
That is true. That is true.
So
that's where we are as of right now, because we're getting ready.
Garlic.
We have chicks. We have chicks that will be hatching this weekend. I'm getting ready to purchase some more layers. I mean, so we're doing all of our spring things at this current time.
I think I'm going to try the straw bale gardening.
Yeah.
Sarah Namias has talked me into
Sure.
this. So I'm not, maybe a couple like plants.
We're
not talking a big.
You know who Bonita is, somebody else that has done that and had great success with it. Yep.
I will have to chat with her. I've read about it. I'm ready.
pretty sure she has a book that walks you through, because you have to pre-treat the straw bale.
You have to water it every day for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then you have to fertilize it.
Because I say you have to add fertilizer to it, I think, to help it begin to break down, basically. So
I'm just gonna experiment. Maybe some cucumbers and maybe a couple tomatoes.
I know that when I don't know if she has done it before. I know in the past. I don't know if she does it every year, but when she does do that, has huge success with it.
Well, we're bread making and straw bale gardening. Here we go.
It
sounds like we're gonna have a really great feast.
It does, doesn't it?
Of different produce.
And you're gonna bring your crocheted items.
Yes,
right?
I'm gonna bring my really long chain. Maybe I can crochet a basket to put.
Let's do it.
See, here we are. We're in a whole new era of life, guys.
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
So that's cool. That's exciting. Yeah, the straw bale thing is if you have a small footprint. Yeah, it's just you have to pre-treat. You can't just put your seeds or. I
have to commit to this. Oh, and I did get a package of these crazy carrots. They're all different colors. We're gonna see.
Bro, can I just say? So
I can only imagine where this is about to go.
One of the things that cracks me up is my family will just say, are very much not my extended family. They are not super adventurous eaters. Where Jess and I, my wife and I, we like trying all the things. Well, we had Easter this past weekend, and I don't know exactly where she found it, but she found some cauliflower that was, I'm colorblind. It was either yellow or orange. It was not the typical white. I think it was orange. So anyway, just something different, and it was actually really good. I liked it better than just the traditional. It was a little bit softer. It wasn't quite as funky as what cauliflower is. Anyway, so we, it was a potluck style, so we have the table set up, and she did a very nice veggie tray. And at a certain point, Jess and I were talking and look over, and there's 5 or 6 of my family standing around the food table, whispering and pointing, and we didn't know what was going on. So finally somebody asked Jess if she brought the vegetable tray, and she said, well, I did. Why? And they said, well, what'd you do to the cauliflower? She said, well, I didn't do anything to the cauliflower. That's how I bought it. And they're like, well, why is it collared? And she's like, that's just the kind of cauliflower it is. So then I have a family member who took one for the team and was like, guys, I'll just try one. So tried it. And it was like, it's okay, it's just cauliflower. It just tastes like, and I was like, what did you expect it to be?
I know.
Really got in the Easter spirit and dyed the vegetables.
I was like, what? It was just, I don't know, it was just so funny where I was like, it's just cauliflower, guys. And then everybody's like, all right, we're good. We're good.
They're safe, they didn't kill over, it's good.
So,
I'm like an impulse buyer, and I was looking at the seeds, and I saw this pack of carrots, and they're a variety of colors. Some are darker, some are lighter. I don't know. So that I think I can do those in the straw bale. So
Variety is the spice of life. That's where you find the things that you don't know that you like, that you're like, man, that's really good.
Right. Yeah, that was Aaron. He like spiraled the other night buying all of the things for our garden that he's like really excited to start from seeds in our garage. So apparently we're turning our garage into a greenhouse. And we're starting all
your own. See?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be interested to see how your carrots go.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, carrots are one of the things. Carrots and radishes are where Halloween came from. So they used to carve those in Holland. Is that what it was? Yeah. I think.
We'll see. We'll see what we end up with by the end of summer.
It's gonna be one of those where you're like, I'm doing this every year. Those were the best.
We'll see. It's the commitment, like you got to be all in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel that. I mean, my garlic.
garlic.
I was out.
The garlic is a situation now.
I was out there a couple weeks ago when it was like really warm, and the next day it was like supposed to snow. So I was out there with the wind trying to like put covers on it. It was a hot mess. It was so.
You should be like vlogging this so that. We can see the end of...
I don't know that I would be able to put... I mean, because at that point I was tired. It was just like, when you're trying to do something and everything is stacked against you, like I would put one quarter down and then it would blow up and I have to go down and the other side would blow up. So then it was just like... So it got to the point that only like half of it was covered and I was like, it's in God's hands now. So, yeah. But it's that time of year, so...
All right. Well, if they have questions, they can call, whether it be 4-H or garlic.
Yep. Yes. Even though we've changed buildings, all of our contact information is exactly the same. The address is a little different. We are literally directly across from the old office. So, but the phone number 812-663-8388, and you can find us on Facebook or reach out to us through our emails, and we respond very quickly.
All right. Well, stay tuned till next month, and you'll find out more about our gardening and crocheting adventures and bread making. Don't forget that part. It's 12 o'clock. You're on Tree Country 1330.